We have 48 and I think we can start here. 45 and some more admitted.
Forty-six. I think we shall start because many people have been waiting. What do you say?
Absolutely. Let's start.
Yeah. And Niti, even your sound is, I don't know, somehow a little, slower. So
Okay, I will be louder. So I hope everyone can hear me.
Abhi, it's not very loud, your sound.
I can hear a loud and clear.
Yes.
It's all clear.
It's clear. Great.
I think let us begin with the session. And can you all hear me also?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. Starting with wishing all of you a very happy Ganesh Chaturthi today. What a day to come together and discuss. And Candid Talks is a webinar series that focuses on different perspectives of experts on topics like mental health, careers, lifestyle, children, parenting, and much more. Candid Talks is part of one of my initiatives called Priceless Parenting that focuses on appreciating, accepting, and celebrating uniqueness in each child and, of course, in each parent. Today, the discussion is on promoting financial quotient in children and encouraging them to become money wise and money smart. I would like to begin here with a quote by an economic specialist, Marsha Goetting. He says that better they learn from their mistakes when the dollar amount is small than later when mistakes are more costlier. So I think this is going to be the agenda that let us prepare them to have those falls and rise from those, those falls that they have. So our role in teaching the emergent financial skills has not been very good. The emergent literacy skills. I think it should be as important as teaching the emergent literacy skills to children. We go to school, but our educational system, our teachers, our curriculum never focuses on teaching, something beyond numbers. We are not ever allowed to grow out of our piggy banks. That is our world when it comes to money. We do not understand the value perception of money. We do not understand the value proposition of money. We are always very limited because we are taught mathematics, we are taught numbers, but there is no emphasis on money skills as such. But it is very important to teach the executive functions, like how a person can make financial choices, how we can control the consumption desires, or maybe how we can delay our gratification. And for all these things, not that we all need to be experts, financial experts, but yes, we need to address a lot of concerns by conversing with our children about money, helping them deal with it in day-to-day lives, and helping them take some decisions and owners of those decisions also. Warren Buffett, who's, I think Niti and all the finance people know him, the famous investor, he said that if you buy things that you do not need, soon you will have to sell things you need. So I think we as parents, educators, curriculum experts, and institutions need to include financial literacy in children's daily life and ensure that they practice it. To help us understand that as parents, we can facilitate this smartness and money wiseness, we have with us a very eminent panelist and a true teacher, a true guru with us, Dr. Niti Nandini Chatanani, who despite her busy schedule warmly accepted the invitation to share her insights today. I will give a brief introduction of Dr. Niti. Dr. Niti Nandini Chatanani is Associate Professor of Finance at the Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, IIFT, Delhi. She holds an MBA and PhD in finance with an experience of 28 years of teaching at the postgraduate and PhD levels in premier B schools in India. Dr. Chatanani has participated in the Global Colloquium for Business Management Professors at the Harvard Business School. She has authored a popular book on community markets and derivatives, while her second book on financial literacy is in the publishing pipeline. Her third book on wealth management is also in the works. Dr. Chitnani has authored several research papers and case studies, guided PhD students, and worked on several consultancy and research projects. She conducts management development programs and training programs in areas related to finance. Outside of her academics, she is passionate about developing financial knowledge among school students, youth, women, as much as she is passionate about her stock investing. Her hobbies include traveling and gardening. But I must share with all of you that today is a milestone birthday for her. It's a birthday, and what a beautiful way to celebrate by spreading knowledge and wisdom with all of us. Wish you a very, very happy birthday. Very, very happy birthday, Dr. Neeti. And we
Thank you.
welcome you to share such beautiful and relevant, topic with all of us today. And I think you will help us make our children more money wise and more money smart. To begin with that, I understand that we all should be always willing to talk about money to our children, engage them in conversations related to us. But before that, I want you to make us understand what is financial quotient and why do you think it is so relevant in our lives?
Vinita, thank you for your very nice introduction and for your wishes. Thank you so much for that. And welcome to everyone who's joined this webinar today. And I hope we can add some value to the way you are giving inputs to your kids. I think the one best gift you can give your child is teach them to be wise about how money is to be used, to be invested, to be spent, whatever. So to answer Vinita's question, what is financial quotient? So financial quotient is a simple measure of how financially aware or how financially able or how financially intelligent a person is. So is the person capable of making small and big financial decisions, maybe like saving or borrowing, when to borrow, where to borrow from, or investing, or even lending, so that they can make a better financial future, they can improve their financial health. It's all about being financially wise related to money matters and being able to take financial decisions independently and good financial decisions at that. So I'll just tell you on a lighter note, I'll tell you a joke. There is this, boy called Neil, and he leaves home for the first time and he goes to hostel maybe. And from hostel, after a couple of weeks, he sends a message to his father. Dear Dad, no money, no fun, your son. So obviously the father understands that this is not right. And, while most of us would feel that our children are suffering because they don't have money, the father replies. He says, this is the time to start teaching him. So he replies, dear son, too sad, too bad, your dad.
That is so good.
Yes. And that's because if you did not do it early in life, one day you will have to take that very hard step of teaching them to be wise about money matters. And so that's what financial quotient is. When a child lacks financial quotient, their life later on can be very tough. They'll have to learn from their mistakes rather than learn from the little bit of education you give them as a parent from the very beginning. So that's financial quotient according to me.
Yeah, that is really wonderfully explained. And the Lee story really is very cute in that matter to explain it further. And Neeti, I just read somewhere that there's a book called The Art of Allowance that says that, if you want to make your children learn about financial matters, the basic thing that you start doing is, helping them discriminate between their needs and wants at a very early stage. And then helping them making smart choices, money choices, and helping them save. But how and what advice would you give to the parents, and what can actually parents do to make them money wise and money smart? What tips would you suggest to the parents in that regard?
So when it comes to being money wise, or when it comes to upping your financial quotient, I think there are two things make all the difference. One is knowledge and the other is demonstration, the financial habits you develop. Vinita, why don't you run a poll? Let's have a poll from the attendees here that if they had been, given this financial knowledge from the very beginning, would they have? Oh, there you are. Do you feel? So, how much time do they have? 1 minute, please. I request everyone to give their answers to this poll. Just say yes, no, can't say, whatever you feel. If you had been taught about small financial matters from the very beginning, would you have been financially better off today? Would it have made a difference to your financial well-being today? So please, I request all of you, it just takes a click of a button. So it's overwhelmingly in favor of, no one saying no.
Yeah.
No one saying no. Everyone saying yes.
There are few things that can't say.
So there's someone who says no here. And we'd really like to see why they say no. But
I don't see the poll for some reason.
you don't see the poll? Samir, let us know your answer, please.
What was the
Yes.
question again?
The question is, do you feel that if you had been taught about financial matters as a child, you could have been better off, financially better off today?
Absolutely.
You agree. So you're on the yes category. So we left a choice saying can't say, because some people said, I don't know if it would have made a difference.
We have 14% people who are saying can't say, who are still confused that what they're doing is right or not and how they should approach it.
Yes.
I think today's session would be very beneficial for this category.
So I think we should end the poll now, although only 38 of the 57 people who are currently, 60 participants are there. Okay, so there is you and me. 39. So I think we are ending the poll. We've got the gist of it.
Yes.
And so the poll results say 82% of the people who are attending today feel that as a young child, or in their early years, if they'd been introduced to financial matters, they could have been financially better off today. Just one person feels no, it would not make a difference. And there are about 15% of people who are not sure whether it would have made a difference. So we share the results with everyone. You can see the results. Fine. So there you are. That's what you feel from your experience, that if you had been taught about these small, financial matters, which I hope I'll be able to, share with you today, you would probably have made better financial choices, and today you would have been financially better off. There's even a Cambridge study, it's a very recent Cambridge study, which says that children's brains get wired to handle financial matters by the age of 7, actually, at a very young age, by the age of 7. Now, don't get disheartened, that, okay, 7 is like, many of you may have actually, your kids have crossed that stage. No, even if your child is 8, 9, it's still a very good time to start teaching them about financial matters. And, Vinita mentioned about Warren Buffett, and he's a, world-renowned investor. He is counted among the top 5 richest men of the world. And he is, he's a self-made man, and he started investing at a very young age. And he credits his financial success to his dad, to his father. He says, because my father taught me to save and invest. And of course, a lot of investing is self-taught also. He also says that the biggest mistake we make as parents is we don't talk to our children about money matters till they are in their teens. And so by teens, their attitudes are actually quite well formed, if not totally, so their habits are quite well formed. And so what we do is actually, and I don't know if it is a case in all the families, but I know in my own case, we tend to keep children away from financial matters. We say, क्यों बच्चों को क्यों इन चीजों में उलझाना है? उनको क्यों पता होना चाहिए कि कोई दिक्कत है या कोई कमी है या कोई हमको बचत करनी है? Let them be free, let them be relaxed, it will give them confidence. That's not right. Children must know about our financial concerns as much as we do. Let's talk to them, let them empathize with our financial concerns. So I think it's very important to initiate children into financial matters that affect a family, that affect them later on from a very early age. And I know that a lot of people who join their jobs, so who start with their jobs, when their salary breakup is given to them, they're not able to understand what it means, because that's the first time they've been thrown into the water. The first time they've been told that now this is your money and you're supposed to make decisions and manage it. And they often end up making wrong choices. So that's my view, Vinita.
Very nice. And I would even give my example to you that I have never thought about such things, and till date, I somehow have a kind of a fear psychosis when I, have to deal with any money matters. I'm very poor at taking decisions when money is concerned. And I think it once, if it is not introduced at the right age, it becomes very difficult to adapt to these skills or learn these skills. And Niti, I was going through, some research. So I also came across a term that is used nowadays. It is called financial socialization. So like you were talking about, talking to your children about all the financial concerns and matters at home. So, the psychologists have started using the term financial socialization for that. That how important it is to discuss about all the concerns with children. And I truly agree that the earlier you start, the better it is. And, here I want to ask you one thing that really concerns me, bothers me a bit. That if a parent starts talking about money to the children and starts discussing about these issues very openly, don't you think the children will tend to become money minded or obsessed with money, or, it will negatively impact them somewhere? What is your view on this?
Yes. So asking the children, or preparing the children to be financially informed, to be financially intelligent, to be financially aware, is actually expecting them to become mindful about money. To sensitize them to the importance of living within your means, of saving something for your later years, of investing wisely so that your money grows. So it's sensitizing them to those issues rather than making them money minded. You know, all of us, we would have experienced that when we board a flight and then you get the safety instructions and it says, in case there's a drop in the oxygen or the oxygen levels in the cabin, please wear the oxygen mask, and please wear your oxygen mask first and then help others with you. Which means that unless you've helped yourself financially, uh, you will not be able to help others. So money mindedness is something that you will have to be if you are not financially well off yourself. If you've been mindful about money and you have become financially well off yourself, then you can think of overcoming your money mindedness and helping others. So I think money mindedness is being unethical, or it's trying to pass on your expenses to others, or trying to cheat others, or trying to be unfair with money. Whereas financial quotient is being trying to follow the right path and using your money to become financially better off, to improve your financial health. So to sum up my answer, no, money mindedness is not what we want, what we expect will be the outcome of developing their financial quotient.
On the other hand, if see, it's a family, it's a background where financially people are not better. I mean, they are not well off, and they have many challenges. If in such a case they start discussing about financial matters with their children,
Yeah, sorry.
it will inculcate a lot of stress and undue stress in children. Or do you think the parents can help them come out of it or see towards the solutions? What do you think would be okay in this?
So when you're not financially well off, there are two ways you can go, live in that rut or break out of those chains. So we have so many rags to riches story where, because they knew, because the children appreciated that we are not financially well off, we have to, come out of this limitation. So let's take the story of Paytm founder Vijay Shekhar Sharma. He says at many times he had to make a choice between spending 10 rupees to buy a bus ticket or being able to buy a lunch for himself. And look at where he is today. So unless a child is actually told that we are not financially well off, and either you can continue to be in this rut or you can make extra efforts to come out of this rut, the child will just spend years being ignorant about a problem that is very real for him or her. So I think even if you're not financially well off, let the children appreciate that we're not well off, but with work and with time, we can come out of these shackles.
Any few tips that you can share that actually in the scenario parents can do with their children, or maybe to put it more clearly, how they can teach it, because yes, they can demonstrate, but what small steps should they take to include children for that financial literacy movement?
Yes, so for today's webinar, I tried to sum up, and because most we are focusing on children, so I tried to sum up and I tried to develop a framework. What can parents do? So I said A, B, C of developing your child's financial quotient is how I put it together. A is always teach your child to plan how much to say, how much to spend, how much to save, and how much to share. So, that's also something that you come out of this money minded thing. So suppose you earn, so kids do earn something, by way of gifts from their grandparents or even from the near and dear ones, monetary gifts. So when you have, say, you've earned 10,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees, ask your child to maintain a money diary. How much did I receive? And so it's like a budget. How much of it am I going to spend on what? How much of it I'm going to save? And how much of it I'm going to share? Okay, and then you might ask, so what can a child do with the amount that they will share? So maybe they can buy a rose or a potted plant for their parents on their anniversary, or just out of the blue they can buy a rose for Mother's Day or whatever it is. But sharing is when you say, this was money I received and I used that a part of that money to buy something to express my love for my parents or for grandparents or whoever it is. And then of course allow them to spend the bigger part of it, but teach them that some of it must go into saving. So whatever money you have, whatever your source of income, as a child your source of income is usually gifts, it has to be planned. So that always teach them to plan how to use money, which is what you call budgeting. How much you're going to spend, how much you're going to save, and what you're going to put aside for sharing. So this is the first A, the A of developing your child's financial quotient. Always plan how to use money. B is very important, and many adults also are not so comfortable about it, which is the basics of banking. A bank it's a hygiene factor in our lives. We cannot be financially included till we have a bank account. And I think every child must be, even if it's a minor bank account, every child must have a bank account. And what they have planned to save must not remain as cash in a piggy bank. We must get out of that piggy bank mentality. That money must go into a savings account in a bank. And when it comes to basics of banking, the children must know at least three things about banks. One is, what is a savings account? What do you get by keeping your money in a savings account? And how do you operate a savings account? Number one. Number two, children must know about fixed deposits. When do you make fixed deposits? What is the difference between keeping your money in a savings account and putting your money in a fixed deposit? And what can I get? What is better? If I don't want to use my money for some time, if I can keep it in an FD, how will it make me better off than leaving my money in the savings account? And the third thing that you must teach your child is to gradually, in a very disciplined manner, collect money that's a recurring deposit. So teach them that every month you can money, lay the table, clear the table, fill up the water bottles at home, whatever you do, pay them for it. Every month, when you earn 100 rupees or 200 rupees or whatever, up to 500 rupees, you can invest it in a recurring deposit so that after some time, you can collect a big sum of money by putting in small sums of money today. Maybe you can even encourage them to collect for, they go to swimming classes, they can pay the fees from the own money they've collected. So this is your money, right? Or you say, when you collect 5,000, I will contribute 5,000. So B, A was always plan how to use your money. B is learn about the basics of banking, and three things in the basics of banking. What is a savings account? What is a fixed deposit? And what is a recurring deposit? And then we come to C. And C is compounding. The power or the magic of compounding. Compounding is interest on interest. So if you put 100 rupees in the bank today, and assuming you earn an interest of 3.5% on your account, so you'll have 103 rupees 50 paise after 1 year. If you don't take out that money, the next year you'll earn interest on 103 rupees 50 paise. So that's interest on interest. And so, your money will start growing at, at an astronomical rate. And again, there's a very, very popular story we were introduced to as children. You can share it with your children about a king and a wise man. So in a kingdom, there was a wise man, and the king wanted to reward him because he was very happy with what the wise man had done for him. So the king said, "Mango kya mangte ho?" Jo chahiye mang lo. Expecting that this man will ask for gold, silver, whatever. So the wise man said, "मुझे कुछ नहीं चाहिए. आप एक chess board लीजिए." और chess board, so a chess board has 64 squares. उसके एक पहले स्क्वायर पे एक चावल का दाना रख दीजिए, दूसरे स्क्वायर पे 2 रख दीजिए, तीसरे पे फिर डबल करते जाइए, पहले पे 2, दूसरे पे पहले पे 1, दूसरे पे 2, तीसरे पे 4, चौथे पे 8, पांचवे पे 16. So just go on doubling. And so the king said, "What a foolish expectation this man has. कितना मांग सकता था और क्या मांग रहा है?" And it was only after he had reached about 15 squares that the king realized, "ये मैंने क्या उसको commit कर दिया?" क्योंकि so that's compounding. So when you earn on what you've already earned, your money can grow very fast. So teach them about the magic of compounding, teach them about the concept of interest on interest. And when you teach them this, एक चीज बहुत clearly निकल के बाहर आएगी. The magic of compounding is actually directly dependent on the amount of time you give it. तो आप जितनी जल्दी शुरू करेंगे पैसे बचाना और उनको invest करना, the earlier you start, the richer you will become. Okay, so children have to be, they have to be, it's magnetic. Actually, if you teach them about the power of compounding, they get attracted to it. So tell them to start saving as early as possible, and to see the magic of that happening to them, the returns coming to them. So A, always plan how you will use your money. B, learn about the basics of banking. And C, understand compounding. The compounding is, it can do magic in your money matters. It can do magic in a number of other situations, So if you are trying to increase your physical strength and you go for a jog every day, so every day that you continue doing it systematically in a disciplined way, you'll be able to do more and more. So compounding works on many fronts in your life, but especially in the case of money. So ABC. I can go on with D, E, F, G, H. I've made a alphabet out of it, but I think please start with ABC and see it bringing about a change in the way your children think about money and make money related decisions.
Very, very beautifully explained. But then, you know, linking one question to it, what I would want to ask it, that was a wonderful idea that we start, paying them a bit for a chore that they do at home. So, do you think we in today's time should be paying pocket money to our children? And if yes, what is the right age of starting giving pocket money? And how much, how can we decide what is the right amount to pay pocket money to the child?
I don't have an answer for that. So it's to each parent, their own, whatever they want to do. So you can give pocket money to your children, or you can tell your children that, I will buy you whatever you want, whenever you want. Both ways work. But if you ask me personally, so there's no right answer. I don't know. But if you ask me personally, it makes sense to take care of their bigger expenses like we do. But we should give them some pocket money because that will become the starting point for their money diary. So maybe some amount of pocket money should give them the money they need to be able to demonstrate or practice planning with their money. So I'm more in favor of giving them pocket money, but even if you don't, you may be able to teach it to them in other ways too.
And maybe, and then making sure that they are budgeting it and they are keeping track of how they are spending, and then, following whatever you said, that what they are sharing, they can keep a track of all those things. But I think it should not
Yes,
be unattended.
absolutely. I think today is Ganesh Chaturthi. You said that at the beginning of this webinar. And so one very good beginning parents can make today is give your children a diary and tell them to start recording what they have received, what part of it they've spent, what part of it they've saved, and what part of it they've used to share with someone else. Uh, so whether that money they receive is through their earnings or through gifts or through the pocket money you give them.
That's going to be a wonderful thing. Another thing that I want to ask Neeti is that nowadays exposure to physical cash is clearly going away. We all are using plastic money. We all are using online transactions, online banking, and everything. And money is becoming like a very intangible product and a very difficult concept, I think, to understand. What do you think about this issue? Because I think when we were
Yes.
small, actually, do the transaction with that physical money, so we could understand better. That is what I think. But what is your perception as a finance person in this?
Yeah, and this is for real. I think we are heading towards times where we are going to have only plastic money. This tangible cash that we used to have is going to be a thing of the past, and we have to now rewire our brains to start accepting. So again, I'm a teacher and I tend to quote a lot of studies, so you have to bear with me, but it drives home a very important point, which is that there is a study which says that people do tend to spend more when they're spending with plastic money, and they tend to be more cautious with their spending when they're using real money. But that's what the study warns us about. But we are moving into times where plastic money is going to be the way we spend. And see, now you can spend money without going to the market. You can sit at home, use your phone, use your laptop, and buy things using plastic money. So I think that is where now we have to learn some kind of discipline, or we have to rewire our thinking to say, no, I have to set limits for myself. I cannot go on spending just because I'm not parting with money. So you're very right in that observation that when we don't spend physical money, we tend to be a little more, generous with our spending. That is something we have to learn to tackle. And so once again, if we plan how much we'll spend, then whether we're spending by way of plastic money or real hard cash, we will keep ourselves in check. That, you know, we should not, maybe we can give ourselves an allowance of plus minus 5%, plus minus 10%, but somewhere we'll put a halt to it. You know, it's like if on your phone you can see how much time you've spent being on the screen, you suddenly stop. You say, I've already spent 2 hours of my day looking at the screen, and you suddenly, you know, put it aside. But if you're not, you know, you don't even put a benchmark or a limit for yourself, then you will not have anything to keep you in hold. And so planning, if you plan how much you will spend, whether you're doing it with cash or with plastic money, you will still be under control.
I think it depends on the parent to teach the value of everything, every small thing that the children possess or that we possess in our lives. There's a question, I'd like to interrupt you with that question in between only. A parent, came up with a question that if we start paying our children for the household chores or small things that do, won't we take them away from having that sense of responsibility? Maybe they will want to, do everything for money then, not as a responsibility.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. You know, you cannot tell them that everything you do will be paid. You know, otherwise you'll have to tell them, when I do something for you, you will have to pay me also. So maybe you can, you know, give them times like when they have their summer holidays or when they have their winter break. You can tell them, if you do this, you know, children normally, if your child normally helps around the house by laying the table, don't start paying them for it. But if they're doing a small project kind of work, you know, something that they do once in a while for you, something that they normally don't engage in doing then you can reward them. So you know, don't enter into a business kind of a contract with them. आप घर में कुछ भी करोगे, हम आपको पैसे देंगे. No. But you know, you can say कि चलो इस आप छत से कचरा हटवाओगे मेरे साथ लग के, then I'll pay you. Instead of hiring a laborer, I'll pay you 500 rupees for, you know, giving 4 hours of your day to me. So I think whoever has asked you this question has brought up a very right point. You cannot ask them, make them ask you for money by saying it कोई responsibility नहीं है, हर चीज के लिए पैसे चाहिए. That's making them money minded.
थोड़ा सा हटके कुछ काम है या थोड़ा सा कोई डिफरेंट काम है, थोड़ा बड़ा काम है.
Yes, yes.
I will give my example. My son was here from college these days. So we got him, rubbing polish for furniture. We told him, if you're going to polish this furniture for us, you're going to get paid for that.
Yes.
So that is not something that is, expected out of him to do. So something beyond that expectation should be, dealt like this.
Yes, that's exactly what I meant. Yes.
So wonderfully explained. And beyond this, once we feel that a parent has equipped the child with all the financial literacy or helped the child in developing, promoting the financial quotient, what from there? Matlab, where from here? What is next? What next step should be taken?
No, developing your child's or developing your own financial quotient, developing anybody's financial quotient, increasing yourself on the same aspect. It doesn't end. I mean, you can never say I'm there, I've arrived, ab maine jhanda gaad diya. You know, so it's a never ending process. So the ABC I told you is probably just to get you started, but then you can move on to other things. So you can tell them about, if I say go to D, you can tell them about the importance of not borrowing, as far as possible, spending without trying to borrow, not getting caught in the debt trap. You can, and especially when you use credit cards and all, it's very easy to get into a debt trap. Or if you go to if you go ahead, you have to learn about financial markets. See, I just said basics of banking. Learn about financial markets. Learn about the different ways you have to invest your money, earn bigger rates of return than a savings account or FD can give you. So it's a never-ending process. So I would say financial quotient is start with the ABCs, but let them develop their interest. Ask them to, maybe as a family, one news you can watch together is CNBC TV 18. ask them to read the business column of the Times of India, or maybe you can start getting some of the pink newspapers, maybe Mint, or maybe the Economic Times at home. You can start reading that. You can make conversations about what happens when Shaktikant Das, the RBI governor, cuts interest rates. Why do you think he's cutting it? What will be the impact? So you can go on and on building their financial awareness. You can tell them, look, I have these stock investments. I received a dividend. You know, so this is how you get rewarded. This is how the price went up. This is how I received my quarterly interest on the NHAI bonds I had. So it's an ongoing process. You can just go on increasing their involvement with financial matters at home.
I will supplement it by, quote by the former NBA coach, George. He said that financial literacy is not an end in itself, but a process. It begins in childhood and continues throughout a person's life all the way to retirement. So like you were saying that, yes, it is a process. It has to go on, and, different ways and mediums. I mean, parents will find opportunities to talk to their children about. They will have to look for reasons on which they can discuss maybe their, own salaries, their own pay package, or what the governor, as you said, is doing, or what is coming in the newspapers or the CNBC. We have to bring up those topics to discuss with the children off and on. And, one wise person sometimes said that values and traits are mostly caught, not taught. So that doesn't mean that we don't need to teach children about money. Don't think that. But yes, as Neeti has been saying, that we need to demonstrate. We need to practice good money behaviors that our children would see, and maybe, this skill gets reinforced in our children for financial literacy. And it has to go on and on. So Neeti, would you want to address a few questions by the people here?
Yeah, Vinita, Anurag here is saying, one suggestion that worked for me was to observe stock prices of 3 stocks every day and question why prices moved in that manner. You can apply the same concept to anything: gold prices, real estate, interest rates, whatever. That's actually very good. That's a very good suggestion, Anurag. Yeah.
Anybody who needs to wants to ask a question can unmute himself or herself and then ask.
Yes.
We are open for a question answer round. If somebody wants to ask some questions from Dr. Neeti,
or even give suggestions. I think let's share ideas rather, because like Anurag had a very good idea here. Thank you, Anurag. I think that's a very good thing to do. But anyone else has ideas to share about what they're doing? We should run another poll, Vinita. Now, because so many parents have said yes. If they knew 85%, right? 83%. If we knew about financial matters, if we were introduced to financial matters from a younger age, we could have actually improved our financial well-being. Let's ask them if they are consciously doing something too.
Yeah.
And then they can share their ideas.
Yeah. Yes.
Are you consciously making efforts?
Consciously making efforts to increase our children's financial awareness.
Okay, please answer, everyone. Are you consciously making efforts? So again here, we'll ask you to respond, and then we'll show you the poll results. This is interesting. So although there are 60 participants here, very few have answered, 19 and 2. Vinita, unmute yourself. Unmute.
Yeah. Can you also suggest what should be the right age to start teaching money skills to the children?
Yes, so I think so again, I'm basing my answer on the studies, and these studies have been done by psychologists. So they say by the time they're 3 years old, you can start teaching them about money. So it seems children like to save. They like to have a piggy bank, and they like to put coins in the piggy bank, and to know that their piggy bank is getting heavier. So from the age of 3, you can start introducing them to small money related matters. But of course, it's only by the time they're things about having a money diary, about banking, about compounding. So you can begin with 3, but 8 is when you need to really get serious. But then all children are different.
There's another parent that wants to know, how do we decide on what
Yes.
amount is good for pocket
Yes.
money for a college
Yes,
student?
that's
Also, should we encourage them to save from the money they receive?
absolutely. I know very clearly the answer to the second. Yes, you must encourage them to save from the money they receive. And Arveen, I think my answer to that question, to the first question, is what we did in the case of our son. Because we were so sure about his financial quotient, we were so sure he knew how to make financial decisions. We put a fixed amount in his bank account. We did not give him pocket money when he was in college, and we said, as and when you need money, you draw from this account, but this is the money we will give you for 1 year or for 6 months for the semester. That's what we did. So it really depends upon where your child has gone for college. So your child may have gone for college to a government college where the general level of expenditure is lower. Your child could have gone to a college where they need to buy food from outside. Doing that, the pocket money goes. So that I can't answer really. You have to see and assess what amount would be right. Maybe you can talk to the college authorities what they advise. But the second part, yes, you must encourage them to save from it. Vinny, if any other questions, you can just unmute yourself. Just unmute yourself. Thank you, Arveen. I tried to answer as honestly as I could. You can unmute yourself and just give me your name and ask me a question or share your views.
Raise your hand so that
Oh,
we can unmute you from here.
oh, Vinita is there? Yeah.
Or maybe chat in the chat box, you can type your question.
I would, Vinita, let's encourage them to share some ideas, because many parents said that they're doing things.
Yeah. The parents to roll proper account of what she said, that she was encouraging the child to do transferring the amount, but still telling child to make a record. I think Geeta D'Souza was writing about this. So still in the COVID situation also, they are making sure that the child is taking care of the budgeting himself or herself. So that was a nice thing to be done.
Excellent. Yeah.
So any other idea that can benefit all of us, and in raising more money empowered children? I think it's clear and everybody seems to be empowered already. So I think we should wind this for sharing her time, especially on her wonderful birthday. And I really appreciate all your inputs and your insights that you shared. And I really believe that everybody who was in the seminar gets some takeaway and can really benefit their children by making them more money wise and more money smart. So thank you so much, everyone. And it was really nice of you to join and take away something from the experience and wisdom of Dr. Neeti.
Oh.
Thank you so much, Neeti, and wish you a very happy birthday once again.
Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for your birthday wishes and for your contribution to this discussion. Thank you so much. So Monica is saying something. She says, I asked my daughters to pay a small token from their pocket money. I lost it. Geeta is also sharing. So there, we're getting some good ideas. Geeta says every time my son, yeah, you told this, but can you see this suggestion? Monica, I asked my daughters to pay a small token from their pocket money when they offered to order pizzas. That tells them it costs money to order food. That's really good. That's really good, Monica. So I hope, yeah, this has gone to everyone. So all people who are attending this would have seen this, and I think we should immediately put this into action.
Since we are already talking, can I ask you one more question?
Yes, your voice had gone.
I want to know what should be the right age, approximately the right age, to introduce the child to the stock market world, or let the child enter into that world of keeping stocks and maintaining stocks.
I think.
Can you hear me, Neeti?
You see, you can let your child have a trading account only when when they're adults at 18. Okay, so but you can start introducing them to stocks. Like someone said, we discuss about 3 stocks as the prices are moving. You can start introducing them to stock markets and everything. I think by the age of 11, 12, they are they start finding it very interesting. So again, because each child is different, there is no, but by 11, 12, 13, they should start learning about stock markets if they are interested in that. If they're not interested in that, then basic financial intelligence is very interested or very involved with the financial market, with the stock markets. So, but 11, 12. I know Warren Buffett started investing when he was a teenager. I know a lot of American teenagers in.
Do you think
Yes.
like me at the age of 50 and get away from the fear of getting? I mean, have some glitch. I can't hear you. I can't hear me. Could you hear my question?
Couldn't.
Okay, I'm saying is, do you also feel that a person at my age at 50 can relearn these skills if I have not been oriented ever? Can I become accustomed and comfortable with the if I intend to learn a little bit?
Yes, why not? I'm sure you can, Vinita. But a child who has been introduced to stock markets and all will always have differently when these things get introduced to you at a younger age. But I'm not discouraging you. You can too. Can you hear me? Dr. Priyanka Kocher says, my daughter shared her pocket money for stay in a hotel on her birthday, and we gave her the gifts. So that's good. Everyone took responsibilities. Again, such a great idea. Everyone, thank you for your beautiful birthday wishes. I'm so overwhelmed with these beautiful wishes. It was really worth it having it today. And some great ideas coming. When parents themselves are not too interested in the stock market, it's obvious that, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Geeta, you're so right. If I don't think participating in the stock markets is important for your financial quotient. You can completely bypass the stock markets, but you must be aware about taking the benefit of mutual funds that will invest for you in the stock market. So mutual funds you cannot avoid. Stock markets you can certainly avoid. Absolutely, no futures and options, even for a lot of adults. They tend to, they tend to take too much risk. So futures and options is a very, unless you're completely informed and you know how to manage your risks. Vinita?
Yes, yes. I am having a lot of glitches, digital glitches right now. I
Yeah.
can't hear everything very clearly, but yes, I can again, not thank you enough actually for sparing this time
No.
on your special day and giving all
No,
these
don't
inputs.
thank me.
Thank you.
Don't thank me, please. It was my
It
pleasure.
was actually very, very fruitful and very beautiful ideas and very simply explained. I think we all will get a little intuitive about it and, work towards this now.
Yes,
It was really wonderful
I
session,
think
yes.
it's the one takeaway from here has to be that, from today, please start working on building your child's financial quotient. Teach them to become money wise, not money minded. They will not, I mean, they'll not become money minded, but they'll certainly become money wise.
And the one thing you said, give them a diary today. A good day for a beautiful beginning. Yes.
Bilkul.
So that they can keep counts. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do that today. So
Thank you so much again, and thank you all the
Thank you, everyone.
participants. See you next time. The next Candid Talk Show is going to be on 29th, and it is going to be about mindful parenting. So I hope to see you all there. Thank you so much. I will share the link with everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye,
All the
everyone.
best. All the best. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.